Okay, so I'm going to go through all of the CAGED major and minor chords, along with the pentatonic scales that fit over them, and along with the added notes, the blues note and the major scale and Dorian scale, we're going to call it Dorian scale, notes that you can add to the pentatonic scale. So the chords, the way they're labeled, you have a C shape, you have an A shape, a G shape, an E shape, and a D shape. If you put those end to end and make bar chords out of them, they cover the entire fretboard. So here's a C. Where that ends, where the highest note is there, you put your pointer finger and you get an A shape. That's the same chord. And then where that ends, you put your pointer finger and bar and you make what looks like a G shape. So you make what looks like an open G chord, just moved up. That's now on C there, so it's a C chord. G shape, C actual chord. And then the E shape starts there, so where this ends, the E shape begins. And where that ends, so here in this case the 10th fret, you put your pointer finger, you make what looks like a D chord, moved up and barred. That's like a D shape. The open D chord just slid up. Now it's on a C note there. That's a C chord. And then it starts over on C. When you get to the octave, here's the 12th fret, so you get to the octave. These three notes that were in the D shape are also in the C shape. So those five chord shapes, C, A, G, E, and D, cover the entire fretboard. You can play the same chord using those five shapes. So I have a C here, A, G, E, and D, and it starts over C, A, G, and so on. So you can play that C chord, and it sounds the same. All the same, and then this one goes up the octave. Cool. So again, C, A, G, E, D, and then it starts over. And those are just the open chord shapes. When I say shape, that refers to the open chord shape that it starts on. The minor chords are all the same, except you flat the third. So let's take an A minor, for example. They all work the same way. If you want to start, for example, on a G chord, that is on the G shape. So you go through C, A, G, the next one is E, then D, that starts over C, A, G, E, E, and D. So you can do any chord on any root note using those same five shapes. They all follow in the same order. C, A, G, E, D, C, A, G, E, D. Those shapes always connect up and down the fretboard, no matter where you are. In this case, you're just at a different spot because the root note G is here. Where with that shape, the root note C was here. If I'm playing an A, it would look like this. So I could do A, and A, using an A shape, C, A, then G, then E, then D, and C, and A. So if we want to do, for example, an A minor, here's an A minor. If you notice, the only note that's different in that chord is the third. So in this chord, it's the second string. Move that down a fret, and you get an A minor. Same thing is true of all the other shapes. In this chord, that's the third. Move that down a fret, and you get. So the G minor chord can be played like this: pinky, middle, and if you want to get some notes on the top, you can grab these top three. So and then the E shape, same as the E major shape, except again flat the third. Lift your middle finger. This is the third in the major chord. And the E shape, we're going to flat it, make a minor chord. And then the D shape, that third is on the first string. We move that down a fret, refinger the other notes. You get what looks like a D minor chord, a D minor open, moved up to that root note. Okay, so that's a D minor shape. And the C minor shape is a little funny. The C major shape looks like this. The third is right here, the fourth string, so we're going to move that down. And when you do this, you can't quite get all the other notes correctly, so we'll just do a couple of those notes. Pinky goes here on the A, 12th fret, middle here, and then pointer. And you can kind of flip-flop between that shape, and you can add your root note back here on the second string. So either 12, 10, 9, or on the fourth string, 10, 9, and 10. And if you really want to go up to the next string, you could kind of keep these two notes, refinger them, the second and third string, and put your pointer finger, and you're back to that D minor shape. So when you're here on the A shape, or I'm sorry, on the C shape, flat it, make a minor. Get either of those three notes, fifth, fourth, and third string, flip-flop to the second string, and if you want, you can flip that up to the first string, and you're actually back then in a D minor shape. Okay, so that's the C shape, kind of any of those little versions. You can get pinky on top. But for our purposes, we're going to use pinky, middle, and pointer, and sometimes flip the ring finger down. So that's the C minor shape. Next up, go where that ended, and you make an A minor chord again. So we're back at the beginning with the A shape in this case. So we went, remember it goes C, A, G, E, D. It always goes in that order. Here we're doing the A minor shape. So the next is a G minor shape. Again, that's 5, 3, 2, 2. And if you want to get the top strings, you can get 5, 5, 5. So you have these two little sort of flip-flop shapes. Okay. So we did again C, A, G, E, D, caged. C, A, G, E, D. We did A, G, and then E. And then we're on D, D minor shape. So we had the E minor shape, the D minor shape, and then the C shape. And it starts over A. Always C, A, G, E, D, C, A, G, E, D, C, A, G, E, D again. So again, we start in A, here's the G shape, here's the E shape, D minor shape, and then the C shape, and back to A minor. That covers the entire fretboard. You can do that in any root note, and you can do the entire fretboard. So for example, if you want to do a D minor, here's a D minor chord. Next up would be the C shape, then the A minor shape, then the D minor shape, I'm sorry, the G shape, and then the E shape, the 10th fret there, and then back to D. So again, C, A, G, E, D, then C, A, G, E, and D. Every one of those major and minor chords has a pentatonic scale that fits over it. It contains the notes of the chord. So if we do, for example, an A minor chord again, we start here. A, C, A, G, E. I'm on the E shape. The 5th fret. You can play a first position pentatonic over that chord, always, and it will always work. So over the E shape, the first position pentatonic works. If you look in that pentatonic, here's the chord. That's 5, 5, 5, 7, 7, and 5. If you look at the notes in that chord, they're in the scale. There's 5, 5, 5, there's a 7, 7, 8, and then 5 again. So 5, 5, 5, 7, 7, 5. Well, that's in the scale. Okay, same thing with the D shape. The next is, we're on the E shape, so C, A, G, E, D is the next one. From E minor shape to D minor shape. That's the next up on the fretboard. And over that fits the second position. So, and again, in that shape, in that scale, is contained all the notes of that D minor shape. Second position fits over D minor shape. When I say shape, I mean the way that chord looks in open position. So this is a D minor chord down here, open. This is a D minor shape, barred and moved up. We're on the D minor shape, and over that D minor shape, you can always fit whatever root note you're on, whatever key you're in, you can always fit a second position minor pentatonic. So you see this note, this note, this note, this note are in that scale. That's 8, 10, 9, 7, and 7. So you have 8, 10, 9, and then 7, 7, and actually that note's in it too. It's the same as this one. So E minor chord shape, first position. D minor chord shape, second position. And next is that C minor shape, that kind of flip-floppy one. So we're playing the frets 12, 10, 9, and flipping up to 10 on the second string. And over that chord, you can always play this scale, the third position. So if you look at those notes again, they're all in. You have a 10, a 9, a 10, and a 12. So here's your 10, 9, 10, and 12. So that scale contains the notes of the chord. You can always play that scale over the chord. That full chord is contained in the scale. So the C minor shape, third position. Okay, and keep going up. Now we've done an E shape. Remember, C, A, G, E, and D. So we start on E. Here's the D. We start over on C shape. So the next one up, C, A. C, A, G, E, D. So after the C shape, A. Next scale up is the fourth position. That fits over the A minor shape. look at the notes in that chord, 12, 13, 14, 14, and 12, it's contained in that 14th position. So 12, 13, 14, 14, 12, and 12. Fourth position fits over the A minor shape. A minor shape, play a fourth position, and you'll always have notes that work no matter where you are in any key. That pentatonic scale will always fit over that minor pentatonic chord shape. So again, we're on C, A. The next one is G. So here we're at the 17, 15, 14, and if you want to get the top three strings, 17, 17. So over that, next position up in the scale is the fifth position. So over the G minor shape, you can fit that fifth position. And then it starts over again. After G, C, A, G, E, we have the E minor shape, and we're back to that, the octave of what we did, so that's first position again. So those are all the minor pentatonics that fit over the minor chords, the C, A, G, E, and D, the caged minor chord shapes. Again, E minor shape, first position. D minor shape, second position. C minor, third position. A minor shape, fourth position. And the G minor, fifth position. And then it starts over on the E minor shape, back to first position. Okay, one more time. E minor first, D minor second position, C minor third position, A minor fourth position, and then G minor fifth position. That's how the scales overlay the chords. You do the same thing with the major chords. If you look at C chord, C, A, G, E, D, and C shapes, caged again, C, A, G, E, D, and then it starts over. Say we start here on this G shape. This looks like an open G chord, but it's moved up to the 8th fret, so we're now on a C major chord using a G shape. What looks like an open G shape chord. So you're here on the 8th fret. Again, that first position fits over the G shape. So when you're playing that, you find all of the notes in that C chord, just like we did with the A minor chord. You find all of the notes in that C chord in that scale. So again, if we're looking at the frets 8, 5, 5, 5, 7, and 8, you have that in the scale. 8, 5, 5, 5, 7, and 8. All those notes in that chord are contained in the scale, just like all the notes of the A minor chord are contained in the scale. So over a G shape bar chord, you can always play first position pentatonic. Okay, if we go up, remember we were on C, A, G, next one is E. Over the E shaped bar chord, that's the next one up on the neck, you get the second position. And all of the notes in this chord, 8, 8, 9, 10, 10, and 8, are found in that second position. 8, 8, 9, 10, 10, 8. So you can play that pentatonic scale, second position, always over E major bar chord, E major shape bar chord. So it looks like an open E moved up and barred. E shape, second position. Next up is the D shape. C, A, G, E, and now D. And we're one step higher on the fretboard, so we go to the third position. So over the D shaped bar chord, you can fit third position. And that third position contains that entire bar chord, all the notes. So we have a 12, a 13, 12, and a 10, 10 in this case. And those notes are all there. 12, 13, 12, 10, 10, and then you can also get that bottom note if you want to get the 12 there. Okay, so all those notes are contained, all the D-shaped notes are contained in the third position. D-shape, major, third position. Okay, so now we start over. We're on a D shape, C, A, G, E, D. Start over, C shape. So we're on the barred C chord now. Barred C shape. Looks just like an open C chord. Moved up and barred. That is included in the fourth position. So whenever you play a C shape, you can play that fourth position. And again, all those notes, 12, 13, 12, 14, 15, are contained in that scale. 12, 13, 12, 14, 15, and you can get that 15 too. And that's all contained in the fourth position. So C shape, fourth position. Finally, the A shape. Remember we go C, A, G, E, D. We just did C shape. Next is A. And for that one, you can do fifth position. And again, all the notes in that chord are contained in there. So if we're playing, this 15, 17, 17, 17, and 15, that's contained in there. 15, 17, 17, 17, and then 15, 15. So fifth position goes over an A shape, 15th position. And then it starts over, then you're back. Again, C, A, G, we're now on the G shape. If we go up another portion of the fretboard here, and you get first position again. We're back to the octave, what we started on. So again, really quickly, first position goes over the G shape, second position goes over the E shape, third position goes over the D shape, and then fourth position goes over the C shape, and fifth position goes over the A shape, and then we start over. G shape, first position. E shape, second position. D shape, third position. C shape, fourth position. A shape, fifth position. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. G, E, D, C, and A. G is 1, and we're talking majors now. G is 1, E is 2, D is 3, C is 4, and A is 5. And the minors, again, just to cover them again, E minor is the first position, D minor is the second position, C goes with the third position, A minor goes with the fourth position, and G minor goes with the fifth position, and then it starts over again on E minor. Okay, so those are all the overlays. There's a handout that covers that little overlay. And what you want to be able to do with all of this is add a couple notes to each scale to make it have a little more character than just the pentatonics. Every one of these pentatonic scales has 2 wide patterns, 2 pinky patterns, and 3 narrow patterns, 3 ring finger patterns. And it starts back over with pinkies. If you had more string, it would just keep going. 2 pinkies, 3 rings, 2 pinkies, 3 rings, 2 wide patterns, 3 narrows, 2 wides, 3 narrows. So here's the wides, the pinkies, here's the narrows in the first position. Whenever you have the wide patterns, the top one you can add your ring finger, and the next one you can add either your middle or your ring. For the purposes of this video, we're going to call the middle finger the major scale note. So if you're playing this scale, there's your wides. First 2 strings are wide. You can add your ring on the first string. That's first position. And your middle finger on the second string. And in some cases, you can add your ring finger instead of your middle finger there on the second string. So if you're doing a chord progression like... that little ring finger, we're going to call that Dorian. For the purpose of this video, that's like an A Dorian scale, A minor Dorian. Okay, so the first string, the first wide pattern can be either your ring finger added, or on the second string can be either your middle finger or your ring finger. If we add middle finger, we call it major. If we add ring finger, we call it Dorian. That's major, that's Dorian. Okay, and then it takes care of the 2 wide patterns. You add your ring, you add either your middle or your ring on the second string for major or Dorian. Then on the narrow patterns, you have 3 narrow patterns. So on this first narrow pattern, in this case the third string, you can add your pinky on the first string. That's the blues note. We call it the blues note. You never want to land on the blues note no matter what you do. If you play that against a chord, it'll always sound wrong. You always move through that quickly. So things like... never land on it though. Never go... It'll always sound a little funny, a little bit off, a little dissonant. But if you go through it, it has a really cool effect. Okay, and then so on this narrow pattern here, we have the blues note above, and you can slide to the note below. That's a major scale note. Okay, so on that third string in this first position, in the key of A minor, you have 4 notes. Next string, you just leave them the same. We're doing this little composite scale. It's kind of a major with blues added. The fifth string, we're going to do a middle finger. Okay, that's a blues note, so you never want to land on this note. If you're doing, you never want to do that. Or if you're playing a major C major, you never want to land there. But you can play it quickly. You can do things like, or just hammer on, pull it off. Or maybe something like a slide. Okay, and on the 6th string, so what we have here is 3 narrows. We added 2 notes on the highest narrow. The blues note and that slid major scale note. This string stayed the same. The middle narrow stays the same, just 2 notes. And the bottom narrow, we had that in between blues note. And so we've done now 2 wides, 3 narrows, we're back to wides. So those wides again are just the same as they were before. And in this case you can see that because it's the same as the first string. These notes are the same. So again, on the wides, add your ring. On the 2nd string, on the 2nd wide, you add either your middle, which we call major, or your ring, which we're going to call Dorian. Now on these narrows, you add the blues note and a slid note. Okay, so we have either the note above here and slide down. On the middle narrow, nothing added, and on the bottom narrow, we add just the middle finger of the blues note, which you never land on. And on the bottom, now the bottom string here, you're going to have that first wide again, so you add the ring. Okay, so that scale is pretty nondescript by itself, but over chords, it has a really cool flavor, really interesting flavor that you can put into any style. We're going to just call this a composite major or a composite Dorian. It's basically the blues scale note together with either a major scale or Dorian scale notes. So looks like this, sounds like this. Here's the Dorian note. I'm going to use my ring finger on the 2nd string. Okay, so whenever you're playing a, for example, here an A minor chord, you can add those notes. You can do a little bit of your lead guitar, anything that you've ever learned in that first position, and using any of those extra notes, any motive pattern, any bend, any roll, string crossing, is fair game while you're playing rhythm, and you can use it to spice up the chords. So if I'm playing this A minor, I'm just hitting a lot of the A minor chord. I'm doing this. A little bit of chord, a little scale. And all those motives, anything you've ever learned. Here's a little simple 3-note motive. Put it in with the chord. I did a little pull-off motive. We can use some of those faster. Okay, and the great thing about this is those patterns stay the same in every position. So in all these scales you have 2 wides, 3 narrows, 2 pinky finger fingerings, and 3 ring finger fingerings. So here's our 2nd position. That was the E minor shape 1st position pentatonic scale. Now we're on a D minor shape 2nd position pentatonic scale fits over that. That's what we did before. Okay, so now if you look at that scale, here's our 3 narrows, here's our 2 wides, and then it goes back to narrows again. We'll always do that. 3 narrows, 2 wides, 3 narrows, 2 wides, 2 wides, 3 narrows, 2 wides, 3 narrows. Always just kind of rotates around wherever you are. So we can do the same added notes. For here, here's our first wide, or I'm sorry, first narrow. That top narrow, if you remember the way we did it here, we had an added blues note and a slide note. So we can do that here too. Here's that top narrow. The 2nd string doesn't have any added notes, and the 3rd string has an added blues note. playing this. Basically just holding the chord, strumming it, putting in any of the lead techniques that you know in pentatonics, little motives, you know, rolls. You can just add one of the notes. Here I'm going to add, remember we do this? Here I'm just going to take that, add a note. Here's the chord, maybe add my pinky here. I'm basically strumming the chord and doing little bits of lead. So your lead guitar licks become part of your rhythm, and you can do the same thing. You can add little bits of those chords and punch the chords whenever you're doing any lead guitar line that falls in the pentatonic scale. You punch a little bit of the chord that sits in it. Okay, so we just did the narrows. The wides work the same way they did here. We had the ring finger added, and then either your middle finger or your ring finger added on the second string. That's the major scale, the middle finger. The ring is the Dorian scale. So we have the same thing here. Here's the narrows, here's our wides. Add my ring finger on the first one, and then for major add my middle finger on this one, or for Dorian, and then back to the narrows. So on the very first of the narrows you can add those 4 notes. There's 2 added notes, so you get 4 notes. The blues note on the 6th string, and then slide. The notes of the chords and just kind of add the pentatonic notes. So as long as I'm holding that little minor chord, any of those pentatonic notes and any of those added notes in the pentatonic scale, the blues notes and the major or Dorian notes, will always work. Okay, so third position, we have this little kind of flip-floppy shape, 12, 10, and 9 in this case, for A minor, or here 10, 9, and 10. So that's our C minor shape. Remember we started on E in this case, C, A, G, E, then we had D, now it starts back on C. That's the third position. So you have, oops. Okay, so in that case, you have a narrow here, the last narrow, then 2 wides, and 3 narrows. So remember, in the narrows, let's take those first. You have 2 added notes. You have the blues note up top, then you have a slide note right below. The next one has nothing added, and the last one has a blues note added. Here. There's the wides, the pinky fingerings. That's 13, 10, and 12, and 9. So, first one we're going to add the ring finger, just like we did everywhere else. Just like we did everywhere in all the other positions. And on this string, you can add either your middle finger or your ring for Dorian. Okay, and on this string, this is sort of the last of the 3, so you can add the blues note. So I can play a little bit of the chord. If I want to do some rhythmic stuff on top of that. notes that can be added to the scale. And you choose between Dorian and major, depending on the rest of the chord progression. In most cases, you can just hear whether you need to add a Dorian or a major. That middle or ring finger note on the wide pattern. So next, that was the third position over C minor. Next we have the A minor. We can add the fourth position to it, and in that position you have a wide. Here's your three narrows. Here's the two wides, and you can do all the same things you did before. Here's your three narrows. The top narrow, you can have the blues note up on top, and slide down. Nothing on the second one, and the blues note on the third. And on the wides, add your ring on the first one, and either middle for major or ring for Dorian. Here's that scale. Same thing down here. Ring for Dorian. And now we're in the narrows. Again, the narrows, the top one gets the blues note on top, right above the top note. Never land on that note. You don't want to add that with an accent. You just want to kind of go quickly through it. And we have a slide note always on that top one too. Nothing on the second one, blues on the third one, and then ring finger added on the wide, and either middle finger or ring added on the second wide. Pentatonic scale along with those chords. So you can do very rhythmic things, mostly chords, with a little motive. Or you can do really lead type things. Or toss a bit of a chord in there. And you get some more textural things added to lead lines. Or you get some more linear things added to chords. Okay, so that was the A minor shape with the fourth position with all the added notes. Now we're on the G minor shape, 17, 15, 14, 14, and I'm going to add 17, 17 here by pinky. That's the chord, and that's the fifth position. So if you look at that, here's a couple narrows, there's your two wides, and it goes back to narrows. So we never get a full set of narrows there. They're kind of, the third one is always off the edge of the strings. So this is the last two narrows. So we're gonna do a blues note there. Remember, the second one never gets anything. And then on the wides, again, add the ring on the first one, and add either middle or ring on the next one. Then here's our narrows again. So on the first narrow, you can add a blues, a slide, 4 notes on that string, and on the second one, you never add anything. So I can strum a little bit. And so the idea behind this is every single chord progression, every song you're ever playing becomes a complete playground for things that you want to be able to add to chords. Or every single time you're playing a solo, you can add little pops of chords in there and give it some more texture. And land on the notes that you really are trying to land on by knowing where the chords are in the scale. And at that point, we're back up to first position. So here was again, here's first position. That was all A minor. shape. I'm just going for the chords and adding some notes in the scale. Landing on the chord notes. That's third position. Here's fourth position. And then fifth position, we're on minor. Got a little vocal lesson going on at the same time here, so hopefully you can still hear me. Oops, try that again. Chords and adding those added notes. And then we're back to first position. Okay, so right now we're playing over one individual chord that would happen in a chord progression. Usually those chords move pretty quickly, so you can grab a little bit of a chord, a little bit of another chord, and just add a little bit. And there's a little bit of maybe what you see in the song. Now, say we're going to a D major next. So we're doing an A minor, a D, so there I did a little fill, and that comes from the pentatonic scale. So now we're playing a D major chord. So here's all D majors. Here's D, again, CAGED, D shape. So here's the C shape, right above it, A, G, E, and D. CAGED. Here's D. So next one up is C, then A, then G, G, then E, then D. D, and then C, A, G, E, and D. Okay, so there's our chords. If you follow all the outlines that you've got so far, you'll find that the notes work like this. If you're in the C shape, fourth position. With all the added notes. Same added notes. So we can go. Cool. And then over the next one, A shape, fifth position. And then up here, the G shape, first position. And E shape. Same thing, that second position. And then D shape. And that's third position. And then back to C. Cool. So if I want to do a little bit of A minor and D, I'm going to take all those things we just did, scales, and chords, and you can do this in any song, in any key, with any chord progression. You follow each of the chords with the pentatonics that fit over them, add the added notes, and you get something that just sounds really cool. There's A minor, here's a D. A minor. D. A minor, D, in all those cases, I'm just going between all those CAGED shapes and playing the pentatonic scales. That's all you're hearing in there. Keep going around like that all over the place. I'm playing kind of in a funky style there, but you can be doing rock or blues or country or metal as long as you're playing with the right sound, the right kind of rhythm. Adding those same notes is going to be the same for every style. If I turn up a little bit of distortion, do more like a... do something more like this. Tapping thing or any sort of sweeping thing, I'm using those same shapes, you know. Here I'm tapping out of 2 A minor. Like here's the A minor, first position. Here's the second one. So I can grab notes from both of those. And do whatever sort of technical thing I feel like. And any pattern that I know, any motive that I know is fair game. any of those things work. And you change styles just by changing sounds and changing grooves and changing sort of rhythmic and technical approaches. But the note choices are always the same depending on what chord you're over. And that's basically it. Those are all the overlays. If you can do that, you can get through any chord progression, and any song then just becomes really a playground for you to do anything that you know. You can really focus on playing rhythm by hitting more chords and doing a little bit of licks, or you can play lead guitar with a lot more texture by just adding a little bit of chord shapes and landing on the right notes. You always start to know where the right notes are to land on, because you're looking for those chords, the notes and the chords to land on. That'll do it.